What is going on, everybody? Tom here with Keto Lifestyle, and welcome to today's video. Now, today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's not only a recipe video, but it's also going to be kind of an ingredient deep dive because it's the first time that I've used this ingredient in any of my recipes, and I'm pretty certain that a lot of you guys may be a little bit skeptical or have some misconceptions about it. But the recipe today that we're going to be making is actually for a keto take on a refried bean. Now, the beans that I'm using in this can also be used to make baked beans, so if that interests you, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. I'll make sure to do that recipe. But the main ingredient here is actually going to be black soybeans. So if that kind of makes you curious, hang till the end of the recipe and we're going to go into a full scientific analysis and breakdown of this ingredient. But with that, let's get going on this recipe. To start things off, we are going to take a pan over medium heat and add 2 tablespoons of either bacon grease or olive oil. Whenever I cook bacon, I tend to pour the grease in this little jar and stick it in my fridge so that I have it for such occasions. To this, we're going to add a teaspoon of minced garlic, and go ahead and give this a stir for 10 or 15 seconds just to get the garlic to cook. We are then going to add 1 can of black soybeans that have been rinsed and drained. Go ahead and pour this in there, and then we're going to stir them until they start to crack and darken up a little bit. The skins will kind of slide off. While they're doing that, take a look at these macros because I think it's fantastic that these things are only 1 net carb and have 7 grams of fiber per serving. Once the skins of our beans are starting to slip off, we are going to take about 3/4 of them, including all the juice that we can manage to scoop out, and add it right into our food processor. The remaining quarter of the beans are going to be saved for a later step, in which we'll use them to add a little bit more texture to the dish. To that food processor, we're going to add half a teaspoon of chili powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, and finally half a teaspoon of salt. I'm then going to take just a couple leaves of fresh cilantro and throw it in there. You can totally use the dry stuff or leave it out if you don't like cilantro. At this point, we're going to seal up our food processor and pulse it and then run it on high until it becomes a nice smooth consistency. Remember, we are going to be adding texture in later, so you want to get this batch as smooth as you possibly can. Once it's pretty smooth, we are going to add a teaspoon of lime juice. You can use fresh if you have it. I'm just using a bottle. And the remaining beans. There will be some juice that goes in with this as well. Now we're going to seal it up and just pulse it a couple times before opening it up to reveal our finished product. You may have to scrape the edges a few times in order to get it as fine as you want it. And now that you guys have seen how ridiculously simple it is to make these, we are here for the taste test. So I've got my bowl of refried beans here. You can see I topped it with a little bit of lime, some cheese, some jalapeno, and a little bit of fresh cilantro. That's just for the photograph, so it looks pretty for all you guys. But it is time for the taste test. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, these taste exactly like refried beans. The texture, the taste, it is all perfect. I would actually bet you guys that if you put these next to a can of real refried beans, you would not be able to tell the difference, and I'm not kidding about that. They're absolutely delicious. So if you guys are not interested in the scientific talk about the black soybeans, go ahead and exit here. I will see you guys in the next one. And if you are interested, hang tight. I'm gonna run up to my office where I have all my resources laid out so I can properly cite the studies, and I will see you up there. All right, everybody, we are back at the office, which means it is time to talk about black soybeans or soybeans in general. So the first thing you'll notice is if you mention soy around anybody on a keto forum, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, somebody's gonna start screaming about it not being keto friendly. This is quite frankly not true. If you look at a can of soybeans, there's 8 carbs total in a serving, only 1 of which is a net carb because there's 7 grams of fiber. By the definition of a ketogenic diet, meaning that your body is in a state of ketosis naturally, those will not knock you out of ketosis. It is a keto-friendly item. There is nothing about it that hurts a ketogenic diet. So I think the distinction needs to be made here between something knocking you out of ketosis and not being keto-friendly, and people choosing to avoid it for another reason. I think that those lines are getting blurred here when it comes to soy and the ketogenic diet. So the reason I started to look at black soybeans, and by the way, I was one of those people that totally avoided soy because I had gotten some bad information a long time ago. Anyway, the reason I started to reincorporate it is because I saw this article that kind of showed black soybeans, or one of the compounds found in the skin of a black soybean, actually has an anti-obesity effect. So I did a little bit of research on it, and I found an original article entitled Anti-Obesity and Hypolipidemic Effects of Black Soybean Anthocyanins. Hope I'm saying that right. It was a study conducted in 2007, so it's actually not even that new information. Basically, this study found that the consumption of black soybeans and concentrates made from the skin by rats who were fed a high-fat diet showed an anti-obesity effect. Well, since keto is a high-fat diet, that really piqued my interest. I was going, okay, well, what's the concentration? How much of this crap would I have to eat in order to feel those effects? And this isn't exactly clear. That particular study that I was looking at fed them about 10% of their diet. That is a lot of black soybeans, and I'm not going to do that. But that being said, it is an interesting thought that the compounds found in the skin of these soybeans actually could help reduce fat when fed a high-fat diet, considering keto is a high-fat diet. Let's address the negatives here, or the reasons that people tend to not want to eat soy in their diet. First of which is estrogen. There are a couple of compounds found in soybeans in general that can promote estrogen. Some of them simulate it, some of them cause your body to metabolize things in a way that is pro-estrogen. Long story short, this seems to only be the truth in about a third of people, so I'm not too worried about it, and I don't consume them enough to actually have that problem. Most of the studies that I saw that were proving this, they were feeding them exorbitant amounts. Like, one serving of this is not going to kill you. Now, eating 3 cans of soybeans a day would probably do something, but in moderation and the fact that it doesn't affect everybody, I'm not too worried about it. Now, if I start seeing signs of, increased estrogen or something, maybe I'll have a concern. But the really odd thing about all of this is there was a study from 2009 from the Journal of American Medical Association that found that soy-based foods provided a positive effect on the survival rate of women and actually demonstrated an anti-estrogen effects in the body. That's verbatim. So it's a little odd to me, and it seems a little bit like there isn't much of a consensus whether or not this happens, because you've got one hand and one study saying that it increases estrogen levels, you've got another study saying, hey, it's actually lowering estrogen levels and helping breast cancer patients. So not really too sure how I feel about this. I'm actually just not going to worry about it because I don't consume enough of it, and even if there is a slight uptick in estrogen, it's not going to affect me because I'm not doing it constantly. Now on to the point about inflammation. I have seen studies definitely that point soy to causing digestive inflammation, but there was something interesting that I came across as well when I was doing research for this, was that people have been studying the skin of the black soybeans to reduce colon inflammation. So again, it seems like there is no concrete decision, even in the scientific community, about whether or not soybeans cause inflammation or estrogen increases. So even if you're avoiding them for those reasons, that is totally fine. But that doesn't negate the fact that soybeans are in fact keto. So I think I just kind of wanted to take a minute here to say, okay, look, this is a new ingredient you're going to see me use from time to time. They're 100% keto friendly. Whether you choose to avoid soy or not because of research on soy itself is completely up to you. But for those of us that are not worried about it based on our opinions on soy or our research on it, I think this is a viable option to replace any type of bean that you want. I mean, I've used it for refried beans, baked beans, just topped foods with it. They're fantastic. If you eat them raw without making them into the refried beans, they kind of taste like a cross between a black bean and edamame, if that makes sense. But very, very interesting food, and it's something that you will probably see more of on this channel. So with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close out the video. If you like this video, leave it a like. If you think this might be interesting to someone else, go ahead and share it. And as always, if you have not subscribed yet, go and hit the subscribe button, show some love, and I will see you in the next one.